can get these big lump sum checks. I was on my way to being a millionaire before I was 25. We got to figure this thing on out. I got to get some money. I hear people are still buying houses. I hear there is still a way to make money with this thing. And let's be frank, people did make money. People who were buying houses in 2010, I bought a house in 2011. Sold it in 3 years and made like $60,000 off of that. So I was at a young age blessed to be privy to a way to make crazy lump sums of money, and I needed to get back to that. What's up, y'all? Mercedez Kelly, Billionaire Mercedes, and we are at Entrepreneur Unleashed.
Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur Unleashed. I'm your host, Edward Collins, and if this is the first time you're joining us, I'm basically a husband, a father, and a serial entrepreneur, and the whole purpose of this enterprise here is to provide you with an opportunity to learn vicariously through others that I bring in the studio to have conversations that I think can absolutely change your life. Now, if you've been watching me at all, you know that I believe that the best shortcut in your journey of success is to learn vicariously through others, so that's what we're going to do. I'm joining the studio today by the amazing, the wonderful, the Billionaire Mercedes here, Mercedez Kelly, and she's going to talk about her life and the trials and triumphs, and I just want to get into this conversation, so let's get started. Mercedes, thank you so much for coming here. This is definitely a pleasure. You flew down here from Atlanta. We're here in Miami, so thank you.
No, for sure, and thank you for that introduction.
It's easy to say the truth when the truth is sitting in front of you, so thank you.
I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. So as you know, we get different entrepreneurs in here from all different industries to have different kinds of conversations, but it's all basically on what you've done, like your journey. So in a quick, 90 seconds or so, tell us who Billionaire Mercedes is. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, and then we'll explore that a bit further.
Yeah, so I like that. Like you said, who am I, right? A lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we get so deep into I am what I do, right? So I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a sister, right? And throughout my journey, I've been able to take away the generational curses, right? And be able to create generational wealth. So that's what I am to my family, and that's what I've been able to do. But real estate has allowed me to do that. So I myself consider myself as a serial entrepreneur as well. When you look at the ways to create wealth, real estate is an amazing way to do it. And the nuance of how you've done it is pretty interesting to me. So we're definitely going to be exploring that a bit. But before we get into the whole real estate journey that you're on now, what was like growing up like for you? Because tell me about what created Billionaire Mercedes in the first place. What was life like as a young one? No, I love that question because you hit something specific, right? Like life creates the person that you are now. And if you want to change your life, then you have to make a constant change, right? A conscious change. So my life was a matter of me going through and not having the things that we really needed, not having the things that we wanted, right? And saying, okay, what do I have to do to change my outcome? And I was taught, well, you got to go to school. You got to go to school. You have to excel. That is a very strict, very narrow lane. But guess what? I did it. I did it. I graduated school at 16.
Wow.
So thank you. So so it's like I was an overachiever. I'm still an overachiever. But here's where I was. I said, well, now I've done everything that you all told me to do. I did it better than what you said. And you still want me to be broke for another 10 years?
Well, I think that's the thing. That's the lie that so many people are told is that you go to school and that is what results in the life you want to have. But that's not true.
That's not what I wanted.
Okay. So tell me about that experience. So you went to school, you did really well, but it didn't the byproduct of that wasn't the life you wanted, right?
Exactly.
So what did you have at that moment, and what did you want?
Yeah, great question. And let me say, I'm not knocking a college degree, right? Yeah, so it's great.
I'm knocking it from time to time. but go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm knocking the fact that we are taught that that's a necessity, right? That whole route. But what I was going through at the time was it didn't make sense, the exchange of what I had to exert, right? And this was in the early 2000s when real estate was just booming.
Yeah.
So it was a situation where it's like, hold on, you guys are telling me this, but I'm seeing some people over here who's getting some real money and saying something totally different. And this is something that's great to do. It's also prestige, right? I think when I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted that walking in with the briefcase, looking nice, debonair, you know. Like
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So I wanted that prestige. So where I was at in my life, I'm, you know, struggling. And then I have to struggle and continue to do that for another 10 years. And I just wasn't buying it anymore. Okay. Because I saw a different route where it's like, hold on, I just have to get my license and I just have to do this and I can start making money now. Okay. Let me go this route.
So the route was to go on the realtor side of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought that was the right route.
Right, yeah.
Right?
I often counsel people not to go that route, but
And look, I have some friends that are like, oh, well, I want to do what you're doing, so I went to real estate school. I'm like, I wish you would have told me. I'd have told you don't do it. Right. You know, but the person that I saw succeeding was a broker, a real estate broker. Right. So the perception was, oh, I have to get this license in order to do that, which you don't, guys.
Yeah, definitely don't. Don't get me wrong. I think that if you choose to go that route, there's some valuable lessons you can learn. Sure. Depending on who you get linked up with in that process, right?
Say that again.
Because ultimately, people think they can just get this piece of paper that justifies them to be able to create wealth in their life, and that's just not true. I mean, you need to learn sales technique. You need to learn marketing. You need to understand business and contracts, et cetera. So, and if you ever are aligned with the wrong enterprise, you don't learn those anywhere near well enough, nor in the amount of time that you should be learning it. I mean, it shouldn't be something that takes years to learn and master. Yeah. So you went down that route. You got your realtor's license. So tell me, what were those first couple of years like then for you?
Oh man, it's a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like you said, literally the picture that you painted was what my perception was, and it was a borderline of that was what was painted to me too. Right. Maybe it was a situation where they thought that I wasn't going to do it. Right. I'm 18. Right. Yeah. They knew I was good in school. Like they heard about my accolades at that time, if you could even call them accolades. Right. But that test is hard to pass for a lot of people. Went in there and passed it the first time. Now I had to take the cram course and all that. Right. But yeah, I got it done. So point I'm trying to make is I sacrificed everything. And that was one of my, and early on in business, it was one of my greatest faults. But as I got better in business, me knowing, hey, this is it. This is the next step, and giving it my all. I'm talking about 1,000%. That ended up being my greatest attribute. Yeah. But what I did with real estate is it almost made me go bankrupt. Oh. Right? I took out credit cards just to be able to pay for all the fees. You got the key fees. You got the office fees. You got the cards that you have to get. You can't get the regular. It has to be glossy. You have to take this photo shoot. Did I mention I was 18? Yeah. I'm like, you got to pay fee parts. So all these fees, MLS fees. And the main thing and the reason why I created my academy is people purposely held the information for me. Yeah. That is a corporate world where it is very catty. Yeah. Right? So
well, they operate on the pie environment. Yeah. So what I mean by that is like they look at wealth as a pie. And if they have a bigger slice, that means you have a smaller slice. And if you take a bigger slice, then they have less. Yeah. But that's not really what wealth is. No. Wealth is abundant. You can go out in the world and create value. And by the nature of doing that, create wealth.
There you go.
Because money follows value creation.
There you go.
And ultimately, value creation is infinite.
Yeah.
There is no limit to it. So if you can figure out a way to bring someone else value,
there you go.
You will be rewarded for doing so.
And I truly believe that. And that's what I run I wanted to change that aspect of real estate. Because, you know, in my adolescent mind at that time, all I could say is, this isn't fair. I had to hide how excited I was, how I knew I could be good at this, specifically because of all the things that you just mentioned. It intimidated a lot of people in that aspect because they thought they were going to lose something. Yeah. But I did my first wholesale deal by actually looking, and we didn't call it wholesale back then. Yeah,
back then it wasn't.
It wasn't wholesale. But I say that specifically because I'm telling you about the success. Let me tell you about the failure.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Yeah. So, I got this money, this big lump sum. It was 60 grand back then.
Okay.
That's the equivalent to like 90 to 100,000 right now. So I got this big chunk of change, and I'm like, okay, I made it. And I go and reinvest the money trying to be a retail real estate agent.
Yeah.
Why? Because I wanted the prestige, because I didn't have the guidance. Yeah. And back then, listen, this is how old school it was. We didn't even have electronic contracts. Yeah. We didn't have electronic advertising. It was Better Homes and Gardens.
Yes.
Yeah. So I paid for the front ad.
Oh yeah.
And nothing. And what happened is what's happening in the market now. The market crashed, and nobody who was buying was a retail buyer. It was all investors. Yeah. So had I stayed with the investment type of deal, I would have won.
Right. But you were in an environment, this was like 2007, 2008,
This was 05 when I got in.
Okay.
Got in at 05, but we saw it in the market 06 when banks changed their guidelines. Yes. I literally had 10 people approved, and I was going to have 10 deals, and all
boom,
of them fell through.
them out. Yeah.
Because the guidelines changed. And it's like I couldn't understand. Nobody could understand it because we were going through it.
Yeah. When you look at that time in life, obviously the failures help to make you who you are.
For sure.
But obviously when you're in the moment, we were talking about this earlier before we started the show, is that it's hard to see when you're in it, right?
Yeah.
How did you get the fortitude to keep moving forward?
Yeah, so that's a great question. For me, if you remember when you said, "Who are you, Mercedes?" Right? I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a mother. Right? And I have people counting on me. So I don't know what failure is. I don't know what stopping is. Right? I think Elon Musk had an interview, and he was doing his launch, and they said, "Hey, you ever thought about quitting?" He said, "I'd have to be incapacitated. I'd have to be dead. Exactly. I'd have to physically not be able to move." And that's my mindset. Yeah. And you have to have that.
The only way to fail is to quit.
That's it. Because literally, because eventually, if I keep getting back on the horse, I'm going to figure out how to not hit this floor again.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Mike Tyson was saying something like this, and I could be wrong on who, this may not be attributed to him, but I think it was him. It basically said, you just have to get hit one more time.
Yeah.
Be willing to get hit one more time.
Yeah.
And so if you get knocked down, get up and be willing to get hit another time.
Just one more.
Constantly, because eventually they'll run out of steam before you will.
There you go.
And that's what it comes down to. If you're willing to just keep getting up, keep moving forward, that dedication and discipline, because that's really what it takes. It's discipline.
That part.
It's not just motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're motivated to do the things that we're doing, but ultimately motivation does very little when that alarm clock is going off at 5 a.m. and you really just want to hit that snooze button. But if you have the discipline to say, I never put a snooze button on in the first place, there is no snooze. When the alarm gets up, it goes off, I get up.
Or maybe my body is programmed to get up at 4:50
exactly, right?
Before the alarm goes off.
It's all about intention too. Yeah. So you made it through this time frame. Yeah. Obviously you were struggling because the market in the world, especially in real estate, got into a state of upheaval in 2007, 2008. How did you make it through that? Like what actually did you do? Not just how did you feel and what motivated you through it, but what did you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. You got all these great questions. That's probably why you do this, huh? So specifically, and I didn't know it at that time, but I worked on my sales skills. Okay. Because to me, there was no life without real estate. I can get these big lump sum checks. I was on my way to being a millionaire before I was 25. We got to figure this thing on out. Right, I got to get some money. I hear people are still buying houses. I hear there is still a way to make money with this thing. And let's be frank, people did make money. People who were buying houses in 2010, I bought a house in 2011. Sold it in 3 years and made like $60,000 off of that. Right. So I was at a young age blessed to be privy to a way to make crazy lump sums of money, and I needed to get back to that. So I knew I was great at sales, right? I love to talk, right? It made sense. And I went to the car business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, car business. And I started making a lot of money with cars. Yeah. That was, remember Cash for Clunkers?
Oh, yes.
I was around during that time. Okay. We got the stipend from the government. I was slinging them like houses.
Okay. so like that really is an important note, because I think that so many entrepreneurs get focused on the thing that just creates money in the moment. Yeah. But without understanding what's the underlying thing that made that possible? Exactly. And it's sales.
Yep.
Your ability to sell, which is not
I'm not talking about like convincing people to do things they shouldn't do, but to sell, to persuade people, to uncover the truth of what their needs are. And if you can offer value to satisfy that need, you have a moral obligation to basically present that value.
For sure.
But the process of sales, like if you had to pick any skill set in the world, my personal position is that I think sales should be the skill you should focus on.
Number one.
You're always selling something. You're either selling yourself, a service, or a product. Yeah. I mean, in every interaction, whether you're talking to your loved one, whether you're talking to a friend, whether you're talking to a potential customer, you're always engaged in the process of sales. So if you can learn how to be a great salesperson, the world opens up for you.
Or even just learning the basics, right? Because we talk about how sales has psychology in it, right? And the whole thought process. But one of the things I told you before the show started was I wanted to be a lawyer, right? It was either doctor or lawyer because that was the epitome of success, right? So I pictured myself as this little girl walking into a courtroom with this nice briefcase with this
in
fly,
hand.
briefcase in hand with this fly suit, and I'm just, doing litigation, right? But let's look at that. I talk to my students. I'm like, listen, when you're talking about persuasion, it's the defense versus the prosecutor. But guess what? They're cool after the court.
Yeah.
When court is over, they're going to soccer games. They're probably meeting up. But it's a battle in that courtroom, right? Don't take it personal. But who has persuaded the jury of 12 or the actual judge? And that's who wins. So that's how I equate it. Even with that's sales.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Your ability to persuade is a process of sales. And if you come into that process with the right skill sets, all of the different underlying factors that go into sales, and again, as you said, you don't have to be an expert in it.
Right.
But if you dedicate yourself to improving, you can make major difference in your financial tomorrow.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're going through this, you're selling cars, you're fine-tuning your sales skills. What was the next step?
So the next step was the failure in corporate America. Okay. So and let me say that and let me elaborate on that. When I'm in corporate America, I told you I'm an overachiever. But I found out now when we talk about this thing called generational wealth, my idea of it first was I gotta do what I can to make the most amount of money, right? But I had to learn that generational wealth is not a direct exchange, right? For work. Yeah, it's making money while you sleep is my term for it or phrase, right? So I found out that, now I'm making more money, but now I don't have time to spend with my family. I told you before, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a sister.
Key point.
Yeah, I am the oldest, right? So I have nieces and nephews. They're my children.
Oh, yeah.
So I have this responsibility, if you will, and I can't take off for Christmas vacations. I can't take off for Thanksgiving, and I have all this pressure to be the best. I have this pressure because I'm working too much. It's like, well, if I do or if I don't, I'm in trouble either way. What do you want from me? So that was me trying to figure out the way, and it was getting into finance. So being a finance manager in the car business, I get 2 days off. I actually get to take my days off and not come in on my days off because I have a customer calling or I don't want to split a deal, you know?
Yeah.
So now I'm like, hey, I come from a real estate background. I know numbers. I'm great at sales. I'm selling back-end products. Please promote me. Pretty please, with sugar on top. I clean up nice. I start wearing the suits instead of the regular, car dealership uniform. I'm showing them that I'm a player. I'm a team player. I'm doing all this stuff and smiling and going to the dumb events, that aren't making me any money. And they're promoting people from the outside and bringing them in for a position that I just knew I was going to get.
Right.
And it was a smack in my face. Why? Because you want to keep me selling 20 cars plus a month. You want to keep me in that position instead of elevate me.
Yeah. And I think that's a common environment that a lot of entrepreneurs, once they really do break through into becoming an entrepreneur, oftentimes they get stagnated because they are good performers.
There you go.
But because of that good performance, the people who ultimately control whether or not you elevate
and benefit.
They don't want to lose that gravy train, if you will. If you're the one who's generating the revenue and you're the rainmaker, it's hard for them to say, hey, listen, you could do less rainmaking and more management.
That's the thing. That's the thing. So when I started to realize it, And when I think it happened like 3 times, I literally flew out to Texas and paid out of pocket, took time off from work, didn't tell them what I was taking time off for, didn't tell them the truth, and went to finance school and came back. I said, look, I invested in myself. I have the certificate. Please promote me.
Right.
I think they hired someone else again because, it's high turnover in the car business. I'm like, I've been loyal. This is the 3rd time. And I got pissed and I opened up my own dealership.
Good. Awesome. So, but see, that's also something that I see pretty common is that when an entrepreneur hits a roadblock, does a pivot, hits another roadblock, does another pivot, hits another roadblock, they just say, you know what, I'm just going to build my own road.
Hello, okay.
Right?
I got the stuff to put it together, and I was going to help you, but this is my own road now.
Okay. So you opened up, what year was this?
So, good question. This was 2013.
2013. Okay.
2013. And in the state of Georgia, it was pretty easy to get the used car dealership, get your building, but invest into myself the same way if I'm going to be a finance manager for you guys, that's like besides service, like that's the bulk of where the money is made through the financing portion.
Exactly.
So I'll do it for myself.
Okay. So you jumped into that environment.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
So it's funny. So I found myself making money, from selling cars and creating a situation where we were able to sell them. We found the cars in New York for a lot less expensive, and we were able to sell them lower than our competition. So that worked well.
Yeah, that's called arbitrage. So I know a lot of different business owners who do that in a variety of different things, whether it's you're talking about cars or scarves, whatever
AirBnB.
it may be. You find something of value, but it's priced different here than it is here, and just figure out how can I get this over here?
Over here. There you go. Yep. So bring that over, and did it well. But everything was to get back to real estate.
Okay.
That's my first love.
Okay.
That's the big checks.
Yes, it is.
So
yes, it is.
A car, it was cool. I could make a couple $1,000s, but I knew I could flip properties. Like I said, even if it's, let's just say it's $25,000. If I do that over 10 properties a month, that's a nice little chunk of change.
Absolutely.
Right? So the car business ended up not being enough. It ended up being too much work. Right? Too much juggling. You got your floor plan. You flying back and forth to New York. You got your fees here. You got the market changing and shifting. You have your D-paper clients. It was a lot of moving parts. And I'm like, I can just get into real estate and not have to do this much work. I don't need this much overhead,
right?
So instead of trying to build these steps to get to this, let's just get to it.
Yes.
Let's just get to it. Let's start researching and figuring out, what do I need to do that? What was it that was so special about that first deal that I did? And I started analyzing that deal and consistently trying to make myself better. Okay. And I'm like, hey, this is an investment deal.
Yes.
Right? And I didn't put up any money. I didn't put up any credit. I just put 2 people together that I saw a need for. Yeah. Let's figure out how we can do more of these.
Matchmaking is an art, though. It's more it's science, but it's definitely an art.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what you're doing now. Yeah. I mean, you are matchmaking in a variety of ways. You're matchmaking within the deals that you're involved in. Yeah. You're helping to matchmake between the concept and the people to do it too in the academy that you have. So that art of matchmaking, why was that something that was intriguing to you? Because again, if you look at everything you were doing up until that point in time, you were making money. Yeah. In fact, you had already at that point probably broken some of those generational curses, right? Yes. Because at the end of the day, you were in the 6-figure environment at that point. Yeah. If not 7 by the end of that process. Yeah. So what motivated you to move forward into the matchmaking regime?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I feel like that's not work. Okay. It wasn't work for me. And that's when they say you've really found, right, your love, your niche, is when you can do it and it doesn't feel like work. Selling cars felt like a lot of strenuous work. Even owning my own dealership, I mean, we talk about anxiety. You're a business owner. You know about the process and what you have to go through and learn in meditation so that you can even sleep. Because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breathe and sleep. Those are the 2 things you need to survive, right? So saying that, I had to figure out what was great for me, and that didn't feel like work. I think because I have such a giving spirit and I want people to be able to succeed, I felt like I was doing that anyway. Hey, here's a great deal. Oh, this is a problem that you're having. Hey, guess what? This is how you could solve it. I'm that person, if you're talking to me, I'm trying to find a solution if you have a problem anyway. So in this wonderful world of real estate investing, I can find a distressed buyer who has a situation where they need to get out of it and pull money out of their home, right? And move on. I can help a student connect those two people together. And I can help a buyer get a great deal on a home that they did not know how to find. So everybody's blessed and we're making money for it. I hated the businesses that I was in before, specifically because it was you have to step on people's neck to get to the top. I never wanted to believe that.
Yes.
I was not going to accept that.
Okay. So you jumped into this new, it's not new to you because you started off in this realm a long while ago.
Yeah.
But it has a new lifeblood to it.
Yeah.
The whole concept of wholesaling in general. So you're jumping into this in a time frame when the market is pretty ripe for opportunity in real estate.
Yeah.
Now is a little bit of a different story. It's definitely more tumultuous. But when you were jumping back into this, things were like booming. So how did you go through the process of saying, listen, this is what I'm going to do full time?
Yeah.
Like, because now you're stepping away from something that's already generating money for you.
Yeah.
And I find that's a big risk for people to take because you have something that's making money for you. You have something else you believe can make money for you, but that's not the same thing as making money for you, right? So how did you have the courage to make the leap?
That's a great question. Another great question. So I think for me, my son was getting older.
Okay.
My son was getting older, and you know what do they say? Children tell you the truth. Right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I have two little ones, so I know I know that to be very true.
Yeah. They're sometimes too truthful. So it became this aspect of mommy works too much, right? I still found myself. It's like I started working even more, right?
Yeah.
But I just work for myself. I wasn't running a business, right? And I was learning those type of things from Shark Tank. I was learning acquisition cost, and I'm like, okay, if I go up there, I better know my acquisition cost because Mr. Wonderful's going to chew me up and spit me out.
Know your numbers.
Yeah,
know
your numbers. I'm like, okay, so I'm taking notes. I'm analyzing things. And I started realizing, I'm like, listen, I have to find a way to put something on autopilot, and that isn't it. I couldn't autopilot that, in any aspect. So I said, listen, I already know business, because I still had other businesses as well that were successful just from me being in sales. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I had other revenue streams that I had created, right? Maybe not large ones, right? Then the
but
cash
supporting
out.
At least.
Right, supporting where my bills were at least paid, right?
Okay.
And then from there, I started rubbing elbows with people who were like-minded, who knew where to find the deal. All the questions my students ask: how do you find a deal? Once you find a deal, how do you evaluate a property? Once you evaluate the property, how do you get it under contract on the B2C side, right? Those were people who were friends that had meetings and say, hey, well, Mercedes, come with me, come here. And then when I saw how that was the matchmaking easy part, it became a no-brainer. I can answer this question in one sentence. When I was wasting time at what I was doing, and I could do something else and make more money. Yeah. Even working for the job, I ended up saying, hey, this job is wasting my time because I was able to make $10,000 this month on my business. Why would I concentrate with them? I could have made $20,000 if I didn't have this job.
Yes.
Right? And it was taking up my time. Same thing with that other business.
But see, you had the support in a variety of ways. One, you had the support just with regard to your lifestyle, et cetera, being supported financially through some of these other side projects that you had going on. What were some of those side projects?
So I was always selling cars on the side, even when I was at the dealership, and that made a lot of people unhappy. So I always was going to find a way. So I actually partnered with other dealers and said, hey, I'll pay you if you can buy these cars from me that I can flip under your dealership, right?
Okay.
So I always kind of test the waters before I move forward. So those other businesses, I had a tax business.
Okay.
Right. So so with the tax business, we were able to make And see, that's where I really started seeing, oh, this is play money, right? So I can really, I'm great at doing this model and really having it in all businesses, right? Yes. And there were other people that had other businesses that I would invest into. Okay. One of the things I became great at after sales was marketing, right? Because like if no one knows about your business, then who's going to buy into it? Exactly. Right? So I had people who had businesses but maybe weren't great or weren't all the way booked out. Right. And that's where I started helping create other millionaires. I'm like, hey, listen, this is the aspect. This is Google Ads, right? Google Ads and paying per click. It was a thing that people still don't know.
Even in this moment, a lot of business owners have no idea what that is.
Crazy to me, because it's like, instead of me going to a seminar or a meeting and trying to pass out cards and all this stuff, it's like I'm at home with my kid watching TV and sales are being done. Yep. There's a better way. And so I brought that to the aspect, and I was able to bless other business owners and get a little cut, because profit isn't a dirty word either.
No. In fact, I believe it is one of the most beautiful words in the English language, right?
I love it.
I'm an unapologetic capitalist.
Go.
At the end of the day, profit is something we all should be engaged in. Okay. Because it affords everything else, right? Yeah. So I have this phrase where I basically say that if you're going to fight for any freedom, fight for financial freedom. Okay. Because it leads to all other freedoms.
There you go.
If you're financially free, you get to live where you want to live. Yep. You get to give your children the type of education you want them to have. Yep. You can ensure the type of health care that you would love for you and your family to enjoy. Yep. You get to enjoy the company of others that wealth creates the opportunity for you to be around. Yep. I mean, that's just, people may not like that. They may say that that's unfair or that's not just, but at the end of the day, that is what it is. And if you have the ability to get into the rooms because of the resources you have, you should take advantage of that.
The resources that you built, though, right? So, absolutely. So I want to comment on that. Everything somebody has profited off of.
Oh, 100%.
Everything, right? When I got on a flight to come here yesterday, when I had to do the rental car, it's things, a pen, right? It's so it's okay for you to go to Walmart and pay an upcharge from what they got from a wholesale deal. But how is this any different? How am I? And I have to explain that, like, this is my expertise. But at the same time, you get what you give. So I'm not going to expect that this person not to make money. I want you to make money. Absolutely. I may even pay you a little bit extra. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. You can get it done faster. But that's what makes the world go round. So I'm participating in it, but I also expect it as well.
You're part of the ecosystem.
There you go.
See, my team actually, they came up with this question because someone posed this question to me. As you know, I'm on social media a lot, and I talk about real estate often. There was a post that basically said, hey, listen, I'm going to read it to you because I want to make sure I get it right. I responded already. Okay. I'm just curious what your response would be. Okay,
shoot.
Wholesaling is the most unethical form of real estate.
Okay.
That was it. Okay. That was the comment. I'm like, I responded in a way that was kind of harsh. But at the end of the day, I'm just curious, what would your response to that type of statement be?
I love that question. And I get that actually kind of from my students, not directly, but sometimes they feel like, oh, we're taking from someone. So, and I'll give an analogy afterwards. But there's nothing unethical about helping someone in their situation. They are in distress. Absolutely. So let's say this, right? Let's say a person has a distressed property. What if that property never sells because they never meet me?
Exactly.
Then what? They're in a worse position. The bank is going to take it anyway, or the taxes aren't going to be paid, and somebody else is going to come in and swoop it and get it for even less. And I could have put tens of thousands of dollars in that person's bank account like that.
Absolutely.
Because of my expertise. So how is it unethical? Is it unethical for a lawyer one lawyer may charge an $1,000 retainer. One lawyer may charge a $250,000 retainer. What's the difference between those two people?
Exactly.
The expertise, right?
Value creation.
The value creation. This person has a hell of a track record.
100%. And when we got this comment on our post, I was like,
wow.
Wait a minute. No, listen, that's not how it works. Yeah. The concept of wholesaling is essentially you stepping into the middle between two other parties. Yeah. Which quite literally happens every day in all different industries, right? Right. That's just the nature of being in the middle.
Yeah.
but you bring value.
Yeah.
Your value is you know the person who is able to pick up the deal.
There you go.
You know how to get the money in the pocket of the person who needs it in the moment.
Yeah.
So you are creating an opportunity for value creation to happen on two different channels.
Yeah.
From the seller to the buyer. And you facilitate that.
Yeah.
Now, the retort we got was, well, a realtor can step in and get that person a lot more money.
Oh,
well,
yeah?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Most realtors don't, at least this is my own personal experience, and I'm sure that there are exceptions out there because I know I'll get lambasted on this, but most realtors don't do a lot of work. They get a commission for essentially listing a property on the MLS, which anyone can do for $299.
There you go.
So at the end of the day, what is it, the service you're actually getting? So if you are going to work with a realtor, you need to question, well, what specifically are you going to do? Like, just lay it out for me. List out all the things you're going to do for the commission you're going to earn. Versus what you do in the wholesaling environment is you actually get the job done, because not only do you provide the resources needed for the person who's in that distressed circumstance, you also connect it with an individual who can actually take that distressed property and transform it into something useful for society.
Yeah.
Whether that's flipping it, renovating it, buying, holding it, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But you facilitate that.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I was really happy that you were willing to come out here, because I think that real estate in general is just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And the channel you've chosen in real estate is one that creates huge opportunities for wealth creation for those who are willing to do the work.
There you go.
Because it's not nothing. You actually have to do work. You have to
Yeah.
get out there and rub elbows with the right people,
Yep.
find the contacts on the investor side of the spectrum, and find the distressed properties. But I have to imagine that your community, the community students that you help, one of the biggest questions that I get is, how do you get the leads?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what methodology do you help them with regard to finding the right leads? Like, how do you automate that process for them?
Great question. And I was actually going to use that to help combat that nice comment
Yes.
that you said you got the other day.
Oh, yes.
So, starting out, when we're talking about the realtor, one of the things that you mentioned is we're facilitating the deal. One of the things I want to emphasize is we're doing that fast.
Yes.
We're doing it fast. We're doing it in an expedited manner, because remember, this person has a dire need that needed to be fixed yesterday.
Right. It's
You
not
see
a
what I'm
60
saying?
to 90
Yeah.
day time frame. It's a 15-day
There
time
you go.
frame.
Not throw the realtor, throw it on the market, and like you said, forget about it and hope that something just happens.
Yeah.
So piggybacking on that, I teach my students to actually go after the expired listings. So guess what, a realtor could have did this. Well, the realtor had the chance before my students get to it. So they tried to do it and they couldn't, because they did not have the expertise. And I'll say, as a realtor, they didn't teach me how to comp. They didn't teach me how to do a process. They gave maybe contract classes. Maybe, but they did not teach me. I had to learn, right, from actually doing deals, how to do a deal. I had to mess up. I had to learn from the attorney. I had to go through that school of hard knocks, right, to learn that process. So the expertise, and we're talking about the $1,000 attorney and the $250,000 attorney, the difference is the expertise. The difference is the connections. I can guarantee you that $250,000 attorney is probably going to get you off of whatever issue you're having quickly, right? So that's the first route. Just, talking to people who already want to sell, looking at Zillow, right? Seeing people who already want to sell that show data-driven potential distress, price drops on the property for a long time. We were talking about that before we started, right? But now, because I'm always improving and I'm an overachiever.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, I have found a way to get my students internet leads.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to expand on that.
Yeah. So remember how we talked about Google, pay-per-click, and things of that nature? One of the things where I was ambitious, I said, hey, I need to be different from my competition, right? Cold calling lists and all that stuff, putting up bandit signs, that's a thing of the past, right? I want something that I could scale and I could teach my students to scale. Okay. And I opened up a Google account. I paid an advertising team to do that. And we were getting leads right before the big COVID boom.
Oh, okay.
See, so I predicted, I said, business is supply and demand.
Yes.
Right? We have, right now, the demand wasn't high because people didn't want people in their house with COVID.
Yeah.
So people were afraid. The stock market took that dip. I said, hey, listen, you guys are going to wish you bought this property because soon the supply is going to be lower and the demand is going to be high because all of those buyers are going to still want to buy when this thing blows over. And boy, did I get that right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So now, you know, we're in a position where with the distress leads and the internet leads, right, from that experience. So the cost per click was higher, right, in this inflated market. And you made a point earlier. You said, hey, you know, it's a little bit more difficult now. But what we're seeing in the market is we have more distress now.
Yes.
You don't have people saying, well, my home is worth $2 million. It's like, where? Where's the data? So it was more of a fight when the market was stronger. If I have more distress and I could say, hey, did you see what this news channel said about the market? It's happening, either sell now or lose value literally like this. And it's the truth, right? We're leading with facts and we get that contract. But the internet lead is somebody saying, oh man, what do I do? I'm in distress. Can somebody call me now? And hitting the button.
Yeah.
And they're expecting a call.
Yeah, and that's the total difference between the outbound marketing that most people are doing, the cold calling, the bandit signs, whatever it may be, and inbound marketing.
There you go.
Inbound leads are definitely better because those are hot, interested in what you have to offer. They're positioned to negotiate, positioned to get into that process of negotiation with you. Interesting.
So even to piggyback on that, I learned in the car business because I was good at phone sales and internet sales. I guess I could just talk on the phone and create that you know, connection. But statistics show that 85% of internet leads go with the first person that they talk to.
Yep.
So there's no intellect in that. It's just
be the first.
That's it. If
Be
you
the first.
grind, keep calling them, bug them, keep calling them, text them, get in contact with them. I tell my students, I need you to work like somebody, you just had $20,000 cash that you took out of the bank and you're looking for it. It was here. I know it's here. Where was it? Where? Yeah. How would you call a person if they owe you $20,000? Well, me, I'm not calling them. I'm going to their mother's house. I'm going to their grandmother's house. I'm going to their cousin's house. I'm going.
They have your money.
Because we just took it out of the bank and it was just right here because that's how real it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So.
It's very similar to like Grant Cardone's methodology where like quite literally they have your money. How do you go get it?
That's it.
Because at the end of the day, again, it's a value creation. You're not stealing from them because you're exchanging value.
There you go.
In a market environment that we have, when you bring value to the table, two people or two or more parties are both leaving better off.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because otherwise you wouldn't engage.
There you go.
I mean, the analogy I use is I basically I'll go on stage sometimes and I'll have my iPhone and I'll hold my iPhone up and I'll say approximately how much is this worth?
Yeah.
And inevitably you get somewhere around that $1,000 mark.
Yeah. So
I say, okay, it's $1,000. So question for the audience, how much is this worth to me? Because I have him, hold it, right? It's got to be worth more than $1,000 to me. Otherwise I would not have given Apple my $1,000.
There you go.
Right? Because I have to perceive the value higher than the thing I'm exchanging for. And that's the nature of being in a market. So if I'm holding a $1,000 iPhone, it must be worth more than $1,000 to me. Otherwise, I would not have given my $1,000. Now, the next question I follow up is, how much is it worth to Apple?
Yeah.
It's got to be worth less than $1,000,
Way
right?
less, yeah.
Because otherwise, they would not have given it to me for the $1,000, right?
Yep.
So in that exchange, both parties leave better off. We both receive something of value in excess of the thing we left. And that's just the nature of what you're doing as well.
For sure.
You are leaving all parties better off. You leave better off because you engaged in this process of value creation. The person who is selling the property is leaving better off because it beats the alternative of not being able to liquidate that asset, maybe ending up in foreclosure, or whether that's through a traditional finance or a tax lien environment that gets put onto it. And that becomes a nightmare for them to fix in the years ahead. And then you have the investor who's picking up a property at a reasonable price, at a price where the after renovation value is going to be better off and give them an opportunity to make some money as well. Because all parties in a free market should be making money.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you do it?
it?
Right?
Jinx.
So when you look at what you're doing now, like in this environment, again, it is a bit of a different landscape from an economy standpoint. It's a different landscape with regard to real estate than it has been over the previous few years. What do you see on the horizon with regard to what you're doing? Like, do you see major transition taking place? Do you see more people getting involved in this? Tell me a little bit about what your predictions are.
Yeah. So for me, one of the things, I think, back in the day when I went through the market crash, I said, God, why me? It was like nursing or real estate, and I picked real estate, and I just happened to pick something where we had like a crash, like months after, right? At the time, I couldn't see it, and I'm just like, why did I do this to myself? But it was the best decision ever. In addition to that, it made me stronger, not just in business, in real estate.
Well, struggle is a portion of growth.
Yeah.
Right? A baby learns to crawl when its toys are just outside of reach.
Yeah.
So the nature of going through struggle is a growth opportunity. You chose to grow. Some people don't.
Yeah. Listen, so the funny thing is it doesn't feel like that when you're going through it.
Definitely
but
doesn't.
You're 1,000% right?
Yeah.
So I say that to say, when I look at the market with real estate, like when we came out of COVID, what we're dealing with now, we have change regardless, right? We have change regardless, and I truly believe that when there is change, yes, some things, aren't as great. Like we have people in the car business that say, oh, well, the internet killed the car business, but it's like we still found ways to make money and absorb an amount of money. Same thing now. When one thing changes, it creates an opportunity somewhere. If we're looking at it from a bird's eye view to say, oh, well, this opened up. I can make money this way now. Going this route. So I say all that to say, are there changes coming? Yeah, extensive changes, right? There are extensive changes coming. I definitely see that we're not going to be as, people aren't going to be as reliable. But the thing that I loved, what happened with real estate is the fakers who were in.
Yeah, they got wiped out.
Gone. So, and that's what I tell my students. You guys are going through training and you're competing against somebody who's watching YouTube, shout out YouTube, right? But who's watching YouTube and now they believe they're an expert, right? Versus you really studying, you coming to class. So the changes that I see, we're going to be able to see for coming. We're going to be able to look at it and say, hey, all right, this is a new change. This is a new guideline. We're going to now go about it this way.
Okay.
Like with the financing changes, the financing guidelines, there's always going to be a way or another product or a door that's open for us to say, okay, let's go this route.
Right. Well, I think one of the things I want to make sure that the audience understands is because not everyone is in real estate who's watching this particular episode. Help them to understand what is wholesaling. Like if you were to try to describe it to someone who has no experience in this aspect of real estate at all, like how would you describe it?
I would describe it as brokering a deal.
Okay.
Like, and I use different analogies. Like, think about a stockbroker, right? Back in the day.
Yep.
All they did was have the connection to be able to place a trade, right?
Yep.
And they got paid a portion of that, right? But you still needed to know something about the stock business.
Correct.
To be able to put, like you said, put that marriage of two people together, that matchmaking, right? So I love that analogy that you use, but I'm just brokering a deal, right? I'm creating my Rolodex, or I have an innovative way because I joined the Billionaire Creator Academy.
There you go.
To be able to offload this property easily, right? And be able to know how to value this and say, hey, here are all the benefits, and for that benefit, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars.
Okay.
Just brokering a deal.
Now, when in your own personal life, then, do you also get into buy and hold as well, or is it just on the wholesale side?
Yeah. So great question. So I'm going to always wholesale because it's the thing that I love about wholesaling is the risk versus reward, right?
Yep.
Worst case scenario, if the market changes or I was too high in this property, it's not a loss. I just tear up the contract.
Exactly.
Or I nicely say, hey, listen, this isn't where we thought it was going to be. I apologize. We're going to send a termination, right? Which is what happens in the business, whether it's an agent or, you're not going to move forward with the property. No harm, no foul. No, file, excuse me. So wholesaling is always going to be a part of my book of business.
Okay.
But I do buy and hold, right?
Okay.
We're buying properties. I do also do Airbnb, right?
Okay.
That's something that I love. I've paid off plenty of my properties by just placing them on Airbnb.
Oh, yeah.
And moving at a faster, accelerated rate than renting it out to a traditional renter. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, this commercial game.
Oh, yeah.
They gotta let me in, dude.
I'm telling you, we were talking that before this episode started.
Yeah.
I mean, the benefits of commercial, essentially, you get to leverage many more doors for the same amount of work.
Point blank, period.
I mean, if you're going to buy a single family home versus a 20 to 50 door piece of property,
yeah.
It's almost the exact same amount of work.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's different people.
Yeah.
That you have to be able to know,
yeah.
get access to, et cetera. So tell me about your adventure so far in commercial. Like, are you still like testing the waters? You're still like, what's it like at the moment?
Dude, you know, I kick down doors.
I love it.
Like figuratively, right? So I'm trying to kick down the door. It's not getting down just yet, right? So I'm using my influence to kind of talk to people.
Okay.
But the problem is like they're not really having that conversation just yet. But I think it's also a combination of people are still unrealistic with the price points of their properties.
Yeah. Well, commercial's a little slower to move.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it's slower to move, but still, like we were joking about, I'm not going to say the website, right? But we were joking about that website, and I'm just like, no, you know, it's like people, it shows that there is so much, still so many people that are still unrealistic in the market, which I think that shift, and that's one of the shifts that I foresee coming. People are going to become, it's like the news helps us, right? The more people get scared on the news,
you become
more realistic.
aware of what the circumstance is.
There
because it's fear is just an unknown known, right? You have this environment where there's this possibility of danger on the horizon, economic danger specifically.
Yeah.
And the people who are involved in a particular deal, they say, listen, I need to create liquidity. Maybe there's like I call them the 4 Ds. You have divorce, disability, death, and dissolution.
Yeah.
That happens. So on the dissolution side, maybe there's partnerships that are breaking down. And they need to liquidate that particular property or whatever it may be. But when you can step into a transaction and go through the process of saying, hey, listen, I can bring value. I have cash. I have money. I can bring to the table. I have financing that's back behind me.
Expertise.
I have expertise in order to get this deal done. Let's talk. That's really what it comes down to, right? Yeah. And I do know that the commercial side of the spectrum tends to be a little bit more of an old boys network. Yeah. And it's the whole concept of who you know, not necessarily what you know. Yeah. And it takes time. It takes time to break into that. But once you break into it,
oh man,
it's
a whole nother world.
A whole nother world.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about now leverage. Yeah. If you think about when you're analyzing a particular individual residence, if you will, a single family home, you're doing all the analysis. And you're trying to figure out what amount of cash flow is that going to return? What's my cash on cash return for that particular investment? Now just multiply it by 50.
There you go. Period.
Really what it comes down to.
I'm like, the work, remember, like, it's funny because I saw this post of this reel where Puffy was like, I don't want to work. I pay you guys to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, he said that's the thing. I pay you because I don't want to work as much. I'm like, ding, 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 ding,
100%.
So I share that like every Sunday, like before I do my seminar. But
and you get economies of scale in commercial too, because now if you go and renovate, it's not renovating one door. Yeah. It's renovating 50. So you can say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you 50. Let's lower that price a little bit.
You got to lower the price.
And you get significant return on that capital.
Then you go back to the bank and you say, hey, I know, we need to redo this thing. And then this is the part for me. You have that cash flow, so you continue to keep going. And for the rest of your life, that one property is that generational wealth that keeps going and keeps going, but it's less work. You know, is what I want to get at. Once I evaluated one property, I can buy 50 countertops. I can buy 50.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And the tile to do all of that, and then just do that big flip and then keep the property. So listen, they're either going to let me in or I'm just going to buy some land and build my own apartments.
There you go. I love it. Make your own road, right?
I'm going to make my own road.
I love it. I love it. When you look at what's next for you, because you've gone through a significant amount of evolution yourself over the course of the past 15, 20 years. Yeah. What's next on the horizon beyond just the commercial? Like what is it that Mercedes is going to be looking to do over the course of the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah. So I want to bring value to other business entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs in a different light. Okay. I feel like because of these failed businesses and these successful businesses, I pretty much know what it needs to look like, right? Business is business across the board, right? Yes. Once you have a proven concept, once you create a process, right, we're just turning up the volume.
Yes.
We throw some money behind it and it works.
Boom.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to bring that aspect to other entrepreneurs because the one thing that I felt like was the worst for me, being an entrepreneur or business owner and going through that struggle, I didn't have anybody to say, hey, you should do it this way.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't know if the route that I was going down was a successful route. It was like, all right, well, let's try this. I'm gonna get back on this horse and I might fall off, but I might not.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to bring that value to other business owners and be able to, in a pro bono way, give that back. So it's not, because how many people fail and they were 3 feet away from gold, you know?
Yeah. And the only way they failed was they gave up.
They stopped,
They gave up.
So if I can motivate people, if I can give, not just real estate, just like you said, not just real estate, and that's what this podcast is. And that's why I definitely agreed to do it and made sure that I was here because I feel like it's important that either you or me or someone else can say that one thing like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep going. That's what I needed to hear.
100%, because that's one of the main motivations that we're doing all the different socials that we do, because I don't have to do it.
No,
I choose to do it because it's an opportunity for me to give back.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're doing on your social channels. You're basically sharing your message and saying, hey, listen, I don't know if this is the right way for you.
Yeah.
This is definitely the right way for me. And for those who have followed me, it's worked for them.
For sure.
If you can learn something, great. If you can't, that's fine too, but I'm going to still not be quiet. I'm going to tell my story, I'm going to share it with the world because it could make a difference.
No, for sure. And one thing I want to add to that, there have been people that have taken my course and they'll say, hey, Mercedes, life got in the way and I wasn't able to get that well-oiled real estate machine that you talked about, but I used your negotiating skills and I got a raise at my job.
There you go, right?
It's
value add.
I learned, value add. So they learn something, they do get something. And that's what's important for me. But to see that their mindset wasn't, oh, I ain't getting nothing. Well, just because you didn't do this because life got in the way, at least you were able to take it and turn it into something else. And she got a extensive promotion in reference to it. So.
Wow. Yeah. And you've had impact.
Yeah.
And you continue to do so.
Amen.
One of the things I like to do with every guest that comes on is I like to engage in a bit of a thought exercise.
Okay.
Would you mind going down that path with me?
Let's do it.
I want you to imagine for a moment that you have the ability to go back in time to visit with a younger version of Mercedes. Okay. And you have the ability to share one piece of advice. What I'd love to know is, who do you go back to visit, meaning what age, what was the circumstances that was going on at that time, and what's the nugget of wisdom you give?
Yeah, so that gave me chills. That question gave me chills. And I actually used to tell myself, well, let me answer the question first and then elaborate. So I would go to my entrepreneur self, right? Probably about 24 years 25. Old. Okay. And I'm not telling my age. And I would.
You're 24 and a half now.
There you go. A whole half has passed. So I would say, give yourself permission to rest. Yeah.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would give myself permission to rest because what I found is it was difficult for me to equate. Remember how we talked about earlier, snoozing the alarm or getting up before the alarm. It was hard for me to differentiate, me not putting my best foot forward versus, being lethargic and being lazy. So I was really mentally mean to myself where it was like, no, you have to do this and you have to sacrifice this. And what I learned is if I had a nice balance, when I'm well rested, when I take a vacation and recharge, I perform better than what I did in my burnt out self.
Oh, yeah.
So I would have been able to maybe see certain things faster or recognize things faster, or that bird's eye view would click better if I gave myself permission to rest.
I had a conversation with a business owner about this exact same topic within the past 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
And it's giving me chills because we were talking about not recognizing the difference between activity and progress.
There you go.
Right? We get so involved as business owners in busy work.
Yep.
But that's an oxymoron because it's not really busy and it's not really work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
There's a difference between effort and work, right?
Yep.
I can stand against the wall and push against the wall, exert a significant amount of effort, right? But nothing happens. There's no work that's being done. Yeah. Work is actually progress.
Yeah.
So I can use that same energy, push against the table, and the table will move.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be work.
Yeah.
Not necessarily work I want to do, but at the end of the day, understanding the difference between just putting activity into motion versus doing the things which lead to progress.
There you go.
And as business owners, we need to be focused on that.
For sure.
Now, with that being said, so we had part A, if you will, of this thought exercise.
Okay.
Now I want you to imagine that a future version of Mercedes comes back in this moment, is sitting with us at this table, and she has something to share with you. What nugget of wisdom does she share?
Oh, that's a great one because I've never gone into the future. I planned for the future and saw the way that I wanted it to be. I think for me, I would probably have the older Mercedes come back and give me wisdom about, it's probably borderline maybe the same thing, but more so finding things that I like to do. That has nothing to do with business. Yes. That has nothing to do, finding myself more. That's where, because I've sacrificed so much to get business where it needs to be, to get it rolling, to helping people. It's like, I think we said that earlier. It's like when you introduce yourself, I introduce myself. I said, I am a mother, I am this. But who am I really? If I woke up and was able to do something for the rest of my life and not get paid for it, what would it be? Right. You know, people always say, oh, travel. Of course you would travel. Right. You know, right. Am I a painter? Do I like to paint? I haven't given myself the creative ability to do that. So kind of like saying, Mercedes, it's okay.
Take the time.
To take the time and find out who you are. It was something that 50 Cent said, shout out 50. It was something that 50 Cent said where he was like, people who come from where I come from, we didn't have the luxury of being depressed.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have the luxury of being depressed. You better chew it up and swallow it and figure it out and keep going. Depressed what, you know? And not saying that I am, right? But the fact of the matter is we don't give ourselves, especially when we're going up this corporate ladder or especially when we're trying to be this entrepreneur, we don't give ourselves the creative time to say, oh, this is what I like to do. I may have an art gallery that's coming up soon, right? But I don't know because I haven't given myself time to paint.
Okay. Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
So two versions of Mercedes got some wisdom today. Yeah. So the younger version and the current version.
I see what you did there. Look how you did that for me.
But now I don't want the audience to feel left out.
Okay.
So if you had one nugget of wisdom to share with whoever's watching, listening, consuming this content, what's that one nugget of wisdom you want to make sure that they leave home with?
So one of the things that I struggled with is I felt like the world makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. People are watching your podcast right now because they know they want more out of life. Yes. They know they deserve more out of life. Yes. Right? So if you feel that's intuition, right? I want them to specifically know, because you're making 6 figures in your job right now, you're not crazy because you want to quit your job and you want to do something else, right? Like literally, if I made, let's just say $50,000 on my own and I was making $120,000 at the dealership a year, that money went longer. That was better for me. Yeah. So I want that person watching to know that they're interested and they're intrigued because what they're trying to accomplish is for them, and it's nothing wrong with them.
Absolutely. I talk about this all the time. People ask me, where should they invest? Because like they know that I own a lot of different businesses. One of them is a private wealth management firm. Nice. They go, Edward, where should I be investing? And the number one place I tell people to invest is in themselves. Invest in yourself, because that returns dividends that will pay forever.
There you go.
Right? It can't be taken away from you in divorce,
Nope.
bankruptcy. At the end of the day, when you learn skills, when you learn how to do certain things, that's now knowledge you have forever.
For sure.
So invest in yourself first and foremost. I love what you're saying.
Thank
I love what you're saying. I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you're teaching other people to do it too.
Thank you.
So with that being said, like if the audience wanted to reach out and get involved and learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that? Like how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so at Billionaire Mercedes on Instagram. Okay. There are a lot of people that are faking my pages. So it's not a 1, it's not an underscore, it's not a 0, it's just at Billionaire Mercedes, right?
Excellent.
Spell it out, right?
Okay.
And then the link is in my bio
to
get in touch with me and learn this wonderful world of real estate.
I love it. I love it. I truly do appreciate you for being here, for sharing so genuinely, authentically. I know that people are going to take this and say, hey, listen, I can change my life tomorrow by starting today.
There you go.
So this is awesome. This is awesome.
Thank you.
So thank you again.
Of course.
And for all of you who've been watching, I just want to say that I know you've enjoyed this because I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, be sure to reach out to this amazing woman because she can help put you on a path to change your financial tomorrow by starting today. This has been another episode of Entrepreneur Unleashed. I can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye for now.
See ya.
Awesome.
That was great, right?